Hello, everyone. Welcome to our session today, Monday, March 3rd, 2025. I want to open as we usually do by asking if there are any questions.
This is
Yes, I have a
Vernell. I
question.
have a. I'll wait until you ask your question.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
This is Angela. I was want to ask, can you explain the history of I think it's pronounced the Ankh.
The Ankh,
Ankh. Yeah.
um, I was talking to Ron. You want to do that? Ron. Uh,
I don't know the history of it. I was thinking about George. That's the first name that popped up. Is George on GC?
I don't see him. You were talking about what it meant. I can deal with the history of it.
I did some research on it, but I don't have.
Doesn't it mean fertility?
Yeah, but Ron has some background on it. But
Yeah,
does
it
speak
means some other things too.
Okay.
Go ahead and let me see if I can find it because
okay. It speaks to fertility, and the history of it begins in Kemet, and the opening at the top is the womb. It represents the womb, testicles on each side, where the crossbar is, and the penis is the long elongated part of it. Um, the cross itself is that is closed at the top, and it speaks to infertility. So the Ankh speaks to life and from a womb, and the cross speaks to a barren womb. And both of these symbols had their origin in Kemet. And usually older women who had passed the childbearing age, I don't know what it was then, but they would wear the cross. And those who were younger and were at childbearing age would wear the Ankh. Yeah, of course, as Ron said, there's a history, not a history, a description of other things that it represents. And if he's able to locate that, Angela, we will go back to that, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Spell it. You're saying, what did you say?
U-N-K. U-N-K-N, Unk. I think that's how you spell it.
Pastor, I think it's A-N-K.
Yeah, A-N-K-A. That's it. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
While Ron is looking for that, do you your question for Mel?
My question is, can you explain the relationship of the cosmic mother to the African mother to our ancestors? That whole relationship.
African mother and cosmic mother are the same.
Okay.
The reason there is a delineation between them is because the cosmic mother is the womb of the universe from which everything came. And the African mother is referenced as the African mother because every one on earth came from her womb. And what was the other one?
How do they relate to each other then?
The way they relate to each other is that one speaks to the birth of humanity, and the other one speaks to the birth of everything that exists, inclusive of humans and all animals, trees, etc., etc.
Okay, so if we, if it's like an umbilical cord with our ancestors, is the cosmic slash African mother between the ancestors and our creator?
First of all, let me explain this.
Okay.
The cosmic mother is the womb from which everything came into existence. Okay. The
Yes.
the African, when we say African mother, we talk our African womb. We are talking about the womb of a Akebulan, from which all humans came, all material beings came. Okay, got that?
Got it.
Now,
Yep.
at that point, there were no ancestors because nobody was dead at that point. So after humans came into existence, when they begun to transition out of this earth, out of this body, they became ancestors, meaning that they became spiritual beings who had experiences in a body and were able to guide those of us who are spirit and still in this body. Does that make sense?
Yes, that
Okay.
does.
Now, what does that mean? If you can imagine a row of people going up a staircase, and they are held together by a string or a ribbon. All of them are attached together, and the other end of it is attached to the cosmic mother or attached to our creator. Okay, and through them, the energy flows into us in a spiritual manner for the express purpose of guidance and remember and reminded us of who we are and our purpose of being here. Does that make sense?
It most certainly does.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay.
I have one.
Yeah.
Pastor Jay.
Hmm.
Um, alien means that you come from a foreign country or a nation, right?
Nope.
That's the definite. No.
No.
So what is an alien? I'm not talking about those that they say come from other planets.
That's what an alien is. A human cannot be an alien.
Okay.
See, Europeans do not get to define uh, people as being an alien when they are humans. That is a derogatory term when it's applied to people. Does that make sense? They may
It
be,
does.
they are immigrants, but they are not aliens. That is a low life
Okay.
white supremacist designation for anybody who doesn't look like them. You never hear them call Canadians
Okay.
aliens. I want to deal with it now, baby. You never
Go ahead.
you never hear them calling Canadians aliens. You never hear them calling anyone, any European, an alien. Aliens, that designation is only applicable to those who don't look like Europeans. And that is a derogatory term that is primarily used for Hispanics who come across the southern border. And I want you to also understand that Hispanics are not the only ones who comes across the southern border. There are people from Africa. There are people from Eastern Europe. There are people from all over the world who crosses that border. But what they have done in their messaging is convinced everyone that only Hispanics are coming across that border. And that has given them the opportunity to use their messaging platform to turn people against immigrants who are coming across that border by labeling them as Hispanics and by degrading the humanity of Hispanics. Please understand something. It has not been that long when we look at time that that southern border was Mexico. During the Louisiana Purchase, in the Louisiana Purchase, from it came 15 states. And Texas was not one of them. During the purchase of the Louisiana Purchase, that was still Mexico, where Texas is now. So the Europeans took it later on. But so what I'm saying is this, that belonged to and was Mexico in a very few years ago. It hasn't been that long. Because when you look at a couple of hundred years, that's no time when we are looking at history. And if I could make it even clearer to you, in terms of a couple of hundred years, how many people in your family, if you were to take the age and the period that your grandmama, your great grandmama, or your great great grandmama were born, you're right at it. You see where I'm coming from?
Yes, I'm with you.
Okay. So I don't
So
ever,
let me
I don't ever want us to use that word when we are talking about humans, because we are not aliens and no one is an alien. Okay.
thank you for the correction. So my next question, follow-up question, has the African always been here in the United States?
This landmass was the home for Africans more than 20,000 years before Columbus was a twinkle in his dad's eye. So yes, Africans have always been here, much longer than before anyone else, as a matter of fact. That's my answer.
So, and this is the last question, I think, for right now.
That's all right.
So, before you gave the correct definition of alien, so it makes me wonder then, who are the migrants? If the African has always been here, so is the Europeans considered as migrants? And all other
everyone,
people?
every person who was not here originally is a migrant. Africans migrated. That's they migrated from Africa to this landmass. And during that period of migration, the landmass was populated through the African. What I'm saying to you, when we talk about the womb of African femininity brought everybody into this earth, that's what we're talking about. Everyone who populates this earth had their origin in the womb of the African. So if you look at it that way, the African cannot be an immigrant any place, because the landmass was all one, one landmass that you could travel across by land, and African was in the world at that time. However, the ones that we read about in history came across the Atlantic from Africa during I'm sorry, and landed in America, what we call South America. So I don't, I don't, that is not a definition as much as it is a designation. I don't think we can define people as an alien. That term is used to talk about people or entities who were not who were not indigenous to this earth as far as we know it. Does that make sense?
It does, because you hear the Europeans say go back to your country, but how can we go back somewhere where we have never left? We've always been here. So it just makes me wonder, that's all. But
well, see, let me say this. That speaks to the ignorance of the ones who say that, because Africa is not a country. Africa is a continent that houses 54 countries. So that speaks to their ignorance. When they say go back to where you came from, they are telling us to go back to Africa, where they stole us from. And that indeed they did. So our indigenous origin is the continent of Africa. And we did not immigrate to this country. We were stolen and enslaved when we came to this country. We have never been slaves, ever. We were enslaved. Does that make sense? If you need further understanding, please ask me. Ask me.
yes,
Thank you.
yes, that
they-
resonates with me.
Okay. They did not go to Africa and get slaves. They went to Africa and got Africans and enslaved them. Okay. Anyone else?
Thank you for your answers.
You're welcome. Thank you for the questions. Anyone else? Any questions or comments? Because I do.
Hey, Rep.
Okay, go ahead,
This is
Charles.
Charles. How you doing?
Doing well. Thanks for asking.
The question I need to ask,
Mm-hmm.
I knew it was in the Bible, I forgot where. You remember when, what his name? Jacob, when he married Leah, the two sisters, he had to stay another year to
Yeah.
marry the older sister.
Another 7.
Okay. You remember he changed the DNA on that cheek, the way he had more cheeks than the father-in-law had?
Yeah.
Is that is considered, or what happened with the African, where the European come out of us?
Oh no, that's not. That's something different. I don't fully understand it, because I question everything that I have been taught about any story in the Bible. And the reason I question it is because the understandings have been made up by people who did not understand that all scripture is spiritual. Therefore, if I'm going to give you an answer about in reference to that, I would have to study it first. I have to look at it first, or someone else would have to look at that and do the research to see, is that the right translation of what's being said there. However, I don't see a connection between that and how humanity came from the femininity of African womb. Okay, of an African woman, I should.
I just had that in thought when we were talking about this.
Okay, thank you, sir. Anyone else? Any questions or comments? I have a couple of things I want to talk about. However, if you have questions or comments that guys was in someplace else, that's fine. Because I would much rather have an intimate discussion about those things that are on your mind, those things that have come to your remembrance or come across you that cross your pathway during the course of this week, last week. Ron?
Well, I could not find my information. I wrote it on something I can't put my hands on now. However, I saw Audrey and George come on the line, and I was wondering if either one of them had any further enlightenment they could share with us on the Ankh.
The question was
What?
the Ankh. What does it represent? Far as I could go with it was fertility.
I read something about that in the Spirituality Before Religion.
And that might be where I got it from, Audrey. I just can't put my hand on it right now.
Okay, let me go grab my copy.
Okay. George? GC? If you unmute,
My
okay.
apology.
That's okay.
In terms of the Ankh, I was able to listen a little bit in terms of what was said. However, the Ankh is also looked at as a healing tool. It
Yes.
says, in terms of a life force that provides us, with the breath of life. And so in terms of the purpose, we know we talked about fertility, and the overall aspect of the Ankh, refers to the femininity, and the cross, again represents the masculine, or the penis aspect in terms of the two, and it being basically a life force. And again, I think that information is also in the Spirituality Before Religion. But that's basically what the spiritual meaning kind of represented. And that was just an ancient symbol, that it has significant meaning. So that's all I'm sorry, go ahead, Pastor.
Yeah, even with the breath, George, it speaks to life itself. So the whole interpretation of it relates to life, right? Like the life force.
Yes, the life. Yes.
Okay. Anyone else? Oh, Audrey is currently searching for that. Have you found it? Okay, she's currently searching for that. And Spirituality Before Religion.
But I wanted to comment about what Evelyn was asking about. And I know Africans have been in Central America for thousands of years. Do you know the Malian leader, Mansa Musa? Well, his father put together a fleet of I don't know how many ships that left that kingdom. I guess he was the Songhai kingdom. They left that kingdom and sailed west. And we know with all the currents and whatever, generally you will end up in Central America. So that is where the Olmecs were, in central Mexico, right where the Gulf is like this in Mexico. That's where they ended up. And we know beyond the shadow of a doubt that the Olmecs were African. Nobody will say that in history books, but all the Mexican anthropologists who have studied the culture, they have found all kinds of African artifacts that are in the museum in Mexico City. So we know without a shadow of a doubt that they were African. So they were there, and they are also considered the mother civilization for Central America. Their civilization impacted the Mayas, the Aztecs, the Incas, and I'm sure they're the reason why many of the indigenous Americans in the U.S. Southwest and the Seminoles in Florida were Black. So when somebody tells you to go back where you come from, I mean, Evelyn, we've probably been in this part of the world many generations compared to the people who are telling us to go back wherever.
Oh, we have. There's no question about that.
And I mean, even if we just go back to the time of slavery, we've probably been in this country for 10 generations compared to some of those people who are saying it. I mean, like Trump, he's what, second generation? And Elon Musk, he's been an American. Is he American?
No.
Or he's been American for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, no, he is he came here with a Canadian passport, a green card.
So he's not even American.
No. Let's think about this for a moment. I'm sure George is looking for that in the spirituality before religion as well. Let's think about this. If all the indigenous artifacts, if we were to go to New York, or for that matter, any place that there's a museum in this country, and go to Europe, and we take all the indigenous artifacts out of every museum in Europe and out of every museum in this country, what would be left? Anybody? What would be left?
Nothing.
Nothing. So, what is a museum? A museum houses cultural artifacts. Does it not? And if a museum houses indigenous houses rather cultural artifacts, and if you were to take all of the artifacts of indigenous people out of those museums, then, and there would nothing be left, then what is the culture that does not have any artifacts in a museum? And the ones that, and you could say the Aerospace Museum, but it was an African who invented the airplane. So again, what would be left? Nothing. So what am I saying to you guys? I'm saying to you that anything that is deemed to be culture in Europe or in this country has been appropriated from other indigenous people around the world. That's what I'm saying. I want to say something else too. We make statements like history repeats itself, right? And I definitely want some feedback on this. Either you understand it or it resonates or not resonate, either one. The only history that repeats itself is the history of the interacting with Europeans and Africans. What am I saying? I'm saying that the treatment of Europeans towards Africans, us in particular, enslaved Africans in particular, that's the only history that repeats itself. The the treatment of Africans by Europeans is the only history that continuously repeats itself. We can go back to enslavement, and we can go to the what they call it, the period after enslavement, Reconstruction, and we see Reconstruction over and over and over again. Does that make sense to you? All of you? Any of you? One of you? Or are you just pondering?
I'm processing. Yeah, can you go a little bit more into detail about why we
The only detail I
are
have,
repeating history?
yeah, the only detail I have about that, I haven't said yet, is the reason it does that. The reason that's the only history that's being repeated. The reason it's the only history that's being repeated is because we have not done anything about it until now. And doing something about it means that we have not corrected the behavior that has been perpetrated towards us for all of these years. And that is the reason it continues to repeat itself. And our journey is about making sure that it never repeats again. Does that help clear it up for you, Evelyn?
Yes. And is it that's happening also because we don't know who we are? Or are we and are we waking up to who we are?
Yes, it's happening because, or it has been happening rather, because we, even if we knew who we were seeking redress in the wrong places. We were seeking to be freed by enslavers. We were seeking equality based upon the terms that are offered by the one who enslaved us. We were seeking to integrate into a society that has nothing for us to integrate with, because integration means that you bring yours into the society, and we take part of your culture, and both of them are integrated into each other until they get to a place where they become one culture. Well, integration could never happen because that is not possible when one set does not have a culture. So what we ended up doing was assimilating. And assimilation is when you take everything you have and you do whatever it takes for you to become a part of the society that you are making efforts to assimilate into. And what happened as a result of that, and still happening, is that we left ourselves behind and we started a journey based upon integration that was not integration. It was a journey of a desire to be indoctrinated with a European mindset, hoping that we were going to be accepted by those who enslaved us. So everything was on their terms. So there's never been integration, only assimilation. Does that make sense?
It does. So correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
The reason we didn't know who we were is because they gave us a God to pray to instead of us knowing that we are God until now. Because I wonder why I didn't get things answered I wondered why I didn't get petitions and questions. I wondered why I didn't get answers, and it's because the God that they gave me didn't exist. So is that a reason why we're having history repeat itself?
Oh, that's one of the reasons. There are multiple reasons, but the main reason is that we are continuously allowing ourselves to be indoctrinated and abused by the same system. Does that make sense?
I see that. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And if I may interject, Evelyn, I think it's the same as we were talking about the Ankh. I mean, we were given the cross with Jesus on the cross, but the original cross was the Ankh, which has a total different meaning, with regards to, again, what we give thought of when we see the cross, but at the same time, a significant meaning when we look at it in terms of understanding the Ankh. And I think that was one of the points too that was mentioned, that, the Ankh was the original cross.
Well, George, and the cross, it actually did not speak to life at all. It spoke to death. Because when the Ankh is closed at the top, that means there is the womb is closed. This womb cannot bear children. And they say that Jesus was crucified on a Roman cross, but that's not true. Jesus was crucified on a cross that the Romans stole from Kemet, a cross that spoke to the lack of life within a womb, because that womb had been closed up. It's barren.
Yes.
So if we take both of those and put them together, what we actually see is a life force that speaks to the present life in this earth, and that life and living in this earth are bringing life into this earth. And the cross speaks to the lack thereof, the lack of the ability to bring life into this earth, but it's not condemnatory at all. So it was not a weapon or not a execution machine. It was not meant for execution at all, but the Romans used it for execution. George,
Yeah, I'm finishing. So
Ron, what's up? What you got?
Well, sometimes we talk about things, and who we are is kind of hard for us to see sometimes, I think. Uh, could it be that history repeats itself because those are opportunities, those are doors opening that the ancestors sent us, and until we awaken, we don't recognize them? Can it be that they're opening because of the ancestors and people in the earth that cried out, that didn't necessarily get their answers from the Jesus Christ of the world, but that inner part of them that longed to hear truth, and these opportunities came along so that it would awaken somebody in the earth, or these doorways would open for, like we're seeing the universe open with the planets and all the other things we've noticed. So what I'm saying is none of that stuff is coincidental. And Evelyn mentioned awakening. That is what is taking place right now. And a lot of it, there's awakenings taking place on several levels. There are people that are sick and tired. there are people who are educated and know that there's something different and they don't know what it is, but they're pushing forward for whatever monetary or political or material thing they can grasp. Uh, there are those uh, few that look at this spiritually and say, without this, nothing else matters. And that is who and what we represent. And sometimes I don't think we recognize ourselves in that way. Uh, and it's not that important that we do, but when we talk about this, the openings, and when we talk about spiritual things, and when we talk about awakenings, uh, know that you have responsibility for all of that. Uh, None of it is haphazardly done. The scripture says, who shall we send? And that question has been answered. And as we move forward and we open our eyes for to find wisdom and truth and in every way, uh, and not get caught up in the worldly part of this excitement that is going on. So this is talking about us. And sometimes that is hard to say because you look at yourself and say, well, maybe it can't be talking about me. I can't be a part of this. But yes, you are. If you stay on this line every time we're on and you long for truth and you learn to meditate and you have given up all those valuable things that you once valued and you see truth and that is what you long for and that is what you pursue and you see forgiveness and you see love and kindness and you see uh the you are the pursuit of man, bringing man back to himself, what he was created to be, then this is you. And the opportunities that present themselves is right at your doorstep, meaning you are part of that as well. So we kind of downplay it a little bit. It's real. It is us. And it is for such a time as this. That is why when we're not together, if as I talk to some of us, we can't wait to get back on the line. We don't know what we're going to talk about. Don't know if it's going to be 30 minutes long or 2 hours long. But there's energy here, there's strength here. We're all addicted to it now. It's who we are. The energy, the rhythm of it. So this is the rhythm of the universe, and you are the humans that hold that thread together. So we don't shrink back from that. We are the awakening. We are the ones that are looking at others who are searching for stuff that they don't know what they're searching for, but that's okay. They're searching. And all of that, all of this is tied together.
Thank you. Audrey?
Well, I think I agree that everything is an opportunity to understand who you are. But back to Evelyn's question about history repeating itself, it does, not exactly in the same way, but in terms of the generalization, it does repeat itself because and using our enslavement and as an example, we were physically enslaved, and then we were I've just lost my train of thought, sorry. We were physically enslaved, and then we enslaved to capitalism. We're enslaved to Christianity. So in the same way, those things kind of reap the same effect, because it is about controlling who you are versus helping you to be awakened. So all those instances of enslavement, either through physical enslavement, through religion, through capitalism, they are all about control and not allowing you to see who you are. So that's history repeating itself,
Thank you. I agree.
I think, anyway.
Well, I agree with that. And that's, if you look at it, it goes from a physical enslavement through chains. They are they're there for the eye to see, and then it goes to a place of invisibility, and that place is the mind, right? And then here we are. The only thing that casts off the chains of enslavement, whether it be physical or mental, is spirituality. And I believe that the ancestors allowed us to travel this journey because we were trying everything to be accepted by white people, the enslaver, and allowed us to go through all of these different hoops so we could see for ourselves that you were in the same place that you were in from the beginning. And nothing is going to help you other than knowing who you are and embracing it. Audrey?
Yes, even though it was enslavement, it was also an opportunity to realize who you are.
Yes. And that continues until we embrace who we are and begin to repurpose the energy that is under our authority that's in this earth. Are there questions about that before I go further? Yesterday, I spoke about poverty, both material and spiritual poverty. And I was on the phone last night with Ron, and one of the questions that came up was, how is this connected to our journey? How is, and I purpose to talk about that today because I'm sure that whenever any of us have a question, it's a question that is on everyone's mind, whether we know it or not, seeking clarity. Just like we need clarity when we talk, we need to be clear when we put it in the macro. So we need to make it as simple as possible. How does it connect to our journey? Our journey is predicated on our desire to be awakened, to stay awoke, and at the same time, know who we are. Our journey is about understanding not only who we are, but understanding the nature of what has kept us in bondage and what has kept us separated from each other all of these years. And when we talked about material poverty and laid it out based upon showing rather where poverty exists, whether you live in a gated community or a house that's 3,000 or 4,000 square feet, or whether you live in the projects, all of us are in poverty. And the spiritual poverty is because we embraced and got locked into the belief in Christianity. So it connects to our journey because not only does it show us what the damages were and are by virtue of our material poverty, even though we thought we were not in some cases. It showed us how to get away from that. It showed us that you have to admit, you have to see for yourself that Christianity is spiritual poverty. And now that you see that, it's time for you to look at who you really are. Because Christianity has told you that you're a slave. And you have embraced that, even though you used the word, we were enslaved, our actions were spoke differently than our words. So now we are at this place where we see that our words must match our actions. And we are not in spiritual poverty. The only way you can stay in spiritual poverty, knowing who you are, is because you choose to. And we do not have the authority from our Creator or any other entity to force people into anything. All we are obligated to do is to lay out there so they can see what has kept us in this space with repetitive history and what it takes for us to get out of this repetitive ball or this repetitive space of history so that we can deliver the whole of humanity. Because if you really think about it, every single person on this globe is enslaved under the control of enslavers. It does not matter where you live on this earth. Enslavement is ran and ruled by Europeans. And it has been since the inception of enslavement. Now, why is it that well, first let me ask this question. Is that clear about the connection to our journey?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks. We have to, once we see this connection, and once we,
Something though,
huh?
something you said when you first started, if you are truly awakened, can you go back to sleep? Is that even possible?
It is. It's a choice you make. How many people that we have come in contact with who listened and they embraced it, but then it got too truthful for them. It got too far away from Christianity and they walked away. So they chose to go back to sleep. You are going to embrace truth, or are you going to run from it? You are going to be awakened by truth, or are you going to go back to sleep because you don't want the truth? Does that make sense, Ron?
Yeah, it does. I wonder if they were fully engaged though.
I think that they would have to been fully engaged in order for them to get so uncomfortable with it until they walk away. Because if they weren't engaged, then they would not really be feeling the effects of it. Does that make sense?
Okay.
But engagement
Pastor, I have
or
a question then.
engagement is a choice too.
Yes, engagement is a choice.
Is that the same as a reprobate mind?
How do I approach this? Everybody who have a European mindset got a reprobate mind. Does that make sense?
It does, but I'm thinking about the ones that have heard the truth and then they walked away.
Well,
They
yes,
couldn't handle the truth.
well, they have. Yes, they have a reprobate mind because they went back to. There are people who walked out of slavery and went back into slavery. There are people who were enslaved and they escaped and they went back to slavery on their own volition. Were they free? Were they awake? Yes, they saw what it looked like to be free of the chains and free from the whip. They saw that. So why would they go back into slavery? They were going to a place that was most comfortable to them. And if you stay in a comfortable place, you will never progress. If your feet were comfortable, you'll never buy a larger shoe. When your feet grow, it's uncomfortable, so you buy a larger shoe. Does that make sense, Evan?
Yes, so truly God is a verb
Always.
because it moves. Yeah, it is.
It's
Yeah.
action. Yeah. So our journey is about bringing people to a point in their lives where they have to make a decision. What we put in the macro is energy that will make you choose whether or not you're going to embrace who you are or whether you are going to remain enslaved mentally or otherwise. This journey is more than just us. And we talk about humanity and we talk about the children of Akebalon. But this is my total belief. As many nations there are where Africans live, and I'm talking about Africans in the diaspora. We are in the diaspora of America, but I'm talking about Africans who are in diaspora around the world. None of them will be free. I know who they are with a clarity until we know who we are. We are the tip of the spear. Why is it that the Creator allowed us to be brought to this landmass in chains? I would bring Cush back to me, even if I had to take him over the great sea in chains. What does that mean? Cush would look in the mirror and see who it is even if I have to take them across the sea, across the Atlantic in chains. Why was that necessary? Because as Cushites, we did not finish the task. In the task of bringing civilization to the world, all humans. So here we are, living in the midst of the most dangerous people on the face of this earth. Here we are, living in the midst of people who has brought themselves together in white supremacist organizations that they have sold to us as organizations to maintain peace, like NATO and the United Nations and the World Bank and all those things. We are here because when we are able to see the harmony that's coming out of this chaos, it will be like a horn of plenty, where it's narrow at the top and wide at the bottom. And the narrowness is us. And out from that goes into the macro, all the things that we are being shown. So what I'm saying to you, I hope it's simple enough. I hope I'm being clear enough for you to understand that what I'm saying is that if the Africans on this line, if the Africans in this group who have all of these discussions are not free, no African in the diaspora will ever be free. Does that make sense? Talk to me, ask me questions, please.
Yes, it makes sense.
Thank
It
you.
makes sense.
I feel like Olive right now. Crush me. So you can get everything out of me that has been infused into me. I feel it. It is our responsibility. Oh my God. It is not our responsibility to fix America. It is our responsibility to fix ourselves so that other Africans in the diaspora can fix themselves. There has to be an image of those who have embraced who they are. And this image is not what your face looks like. This image is what people experience when they are in your presence. And when we begin to experience the real us, when we are able to embrace the reality for which we were brought into this earth and embrace the inherent authority that we have, it is then that we will begin to see Africans in the diaspora beginning to pull together as well. The Africans on the continent are moving in a direction to maintain their awareness of who they are and to bring in awareness to those on that continent who have been lied to the extent that they don't know who they are. But right here in this country, we were brought here to the most dangerous place on the face of the earth, the most brutal people that earth has ever known are the ones who enslaved us. The people who are willing to kill 100,000+ folk in one day simply to make a point. That's what the Creator allows us to be. And we are not here to go to church. We came here with a sword. We did not come here to make peace. The Creator did not send us here to make peace. The Creator brought us here to disturb what people think peace is. You can't make peace with a European mindset. You can't make peace with the devil. You can't make peace with evilness. You can't make peace with murderers. You cannot make peace with rapists. We were not sent here to make peace. We were sent here because we are peace. The only way that we are going to have this experience of balance and harmony is that we recognize the unicity that we are with our Creator. And we embrace the reality of our messengers from the other side, of our messengers from above, our messengers from the spiritual world, our messengers who have walked this land and now are in the spiritual realm again, have returned to where they emanated. And with the experience of what we have been through and going through. Now that we are seeking their guidance, we're beginning to see more clearly our reason for being in the belly of the whale or in the midst of brutality. The church is the biggest protector of brutality that was ever created. Enslavement would not have lasted a week without the church. The first two things that happened when we were enslaved is violence and church. If you did not accept what the church said, violence would force you to do it. Those are the two things that has kept us asleep for all of these years. And now, at the moment that we began to embrace our ancestors, we are beginning to see things that we have never experienced before. We are beginning to have experiences that guides us to understanding that we are the weapon of our warfare. That we are Ashe. Because we create with our words. And creating with our words is not talking about creating the tree, they already here. The words that our words create peace for those who are seekers of peace, not for those who pretend to be peaceful. It is important, it is necessary for us to speak what we see. And as Barbara says, to be what we be, so that we can become the essence of what this earth needs so humanity can change. We have to meld our consciousness, our sense of awareness into the macro of this land. We have to do that. We have to infuse this environment with our presence. Not gaming, but with our presence. So that regardless of the direction you travel in, you are going to bump into us, our energy. And by doing so, there's going to be a transformation that takes place. When you are in a grocery store, you are in a pharmacy, or you are in a shopping someplace, and somebody walks up to you that you don't know, and they begin to pour out their heart to you, they are not talking to you, the person. They are talking to the energy that they recognize in you without knowing they recognize it. They are speaking to your essence because something has told them that this is my salvation. This is my Isaiah. Send me, I will go. Isaiah means that God has, Jehovah has delivered. Isaiah. So what am I saying? I'm saying that you are being recognized as a deliverer. You're not Jesus. You are Yeshua, a deliverer. And that deliverance that you are has been manipulated and brought into existence as a man named Jesus, when that's not it at all. Because Yeshua is not Zeus. That's who we are. And get ready, because there are going to be more and more people during this period of despondency coming to you. And you will not know who they are, but they will talk to you. They will seek some consolation from you. Because we are finally walking into the place of authority that has been made for us from the beginning of time. I'm done. Any questions or comments?
I have a question.
Yes.
So I don't have to die a physical death in order to become a cloud of witness. Once I come into the realization of who I am,
You're not a cloud of witnesses. You're not an You're not an ancestor to your.
Go ahead, I'm listening.
You're not an ancestor to. I'm just saying to yourself. I'm sorry. You're not an ancestor until you leave your body. So you're not a part of the cloud of witnesses. The cloud of witnesses. That word witness means martyr. Have given their life for a cause. They are the ones. They are the ones who guide you. They're the ones who infuse you with the understanding of wisdom. And many, many times, the wisdom that you understand, you don't realize it until you begin to speak. I saw none of that stuff. And I said this to people during the course of the last day, that I had no idea the direction that I was going to go in when I started talking about poverty of politics. All I saw was poverty in the projects. And my mind was telling me, you're going to talk about how the government brought poverty and maintains it in the project. The ancestors had a different road for me to travel. The ancestors had infused the understanding of the wisdom, and that wisdom spoke to the reality that regardless of where you live and what your means are, you are still in material poverty. And regardless of what you say, as long as you embrace a non-existent God, a religion that has no spirituality in it at all, as long as you embrace something that was created to enslave you and control you, you will not know who you are. You will not know that you are spiritually poor. You won't know that you are in spiritual poverty. As long as you embrace that. I'm not telling people what to do, but I'm telling you what you need to do. You don't have to do it. You really don't. But I have chosen to travel this road. After the road chose me, I have chosen it. I've chosen to travel this road because I have seen what spirituality is, and I've seen the results of embracing it. Right now, all of this chaos is a result of embracing spirituality. The dismantling of this chaos is what is what spirituality does in order to bring order. This chaos has to exist if we are going to get anything done in a manner that will be beneficial to all of humanity. And it begins in the belly of the whale. It begins in the midst of the most violent people on the face of the earth. Questions, comments? Does this resonate with you guys?
Yes.
It does, yes.
Any questions about it, please? No questions, no comments. If you have any questions, please jot them down. And then when we come together on Saturday, we will address them. I thank you again for your presence. And I bid you a good night and a great rest of your week. I'll see you on Saturday. I will see you on Saturday.
Same unto everyone. Have a good one.
Everyone, enjoy.
One, bye-bye.
Bye.
Enjoy it. Good night.
Take care.